Welcome back to another episode of Revealing Biblical Truths. In today's video, we'll be discussing Leviticus Chapters 14 to 16. This content covers how to deal with a leper, issues of menstruation and spilling of seed, and what needs to be done on the Day of Atonement. Before we get started, go ahead and like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment down below on your thoughts on this section. Beginning in chapter 14, there's a situation of a person who has a skin infection, such as leprosy. The priest was to go outside the camp and see the person and inspect the skin. If the person was declared to be clean, he was to offer his offerings to the priest and then wash his garments, as well as shave all his hair off and wash himself. He could then enter the camp, but not his tent for 7 days. On the 7th day, he has to shave all of his hair off again, including his beard and even his eyebrows, and once again wash himself and his garments. Following this, on the 8th day, he offers more offerings, and including a wave offering and a sin offering. Also, the priest has to dip his finger in the sacrifice's blood and put some on the person's right ear, thumb, and big toe, just as the priests were to do in their ordinations, as well as put oil on them afterwards. Provisions were made for those who are poor, so their offerings were less, but the same otherwise applies to their steps. In chapter 15, it goes through the situation of a man who has an issue of discharge from his body, which makes him unclean. This can be from an infection and or an STI, or even an issue with his bowels. Everything that was unclean that the man touched, including his bed sheets, were unclean, and also needed to be washed. Even the person who touches this man, his bed or his place where he sat, needs to wash his clothes and bathe himself too, so as to not get what the man got. Also, any earthen vessel should be broken, and every vessel made of wood needs to be rinsed out. After the man is cleansed of his infection, he has to wait 7 days and also wash himself and his clothes, and after that he shall be clean. And on the 8th day he has to bring an offering to the priest, one for a sin offering and one for a burnt offering. Next, it discusses the situation of a man's discharge of semen. If this happens, he needs to wash himself and his garment, and if he has intercourse with a woman, they both should wash in water. Next, it talks about the woman who is on her period. She is to be set apart for 7 days, and whoever touches her is unclean. Everything she sits on or comes in contact with that blood is unclean, and even the person who touches those places where she was sitting should wash themselves and their garments. If a man has intercourse with her while she is on her period, he is also unclean for 7 days. And if there is a case where the woman's period lasts longer than 7 days, she is unclean for that many days until it stops. Then again, just as the man did, she is to bring an offering to the priest, one for a sin offering and one for a burnt offering. In chapter 16, Yah tells Moshe the process whereby Aaron can enter the Holy of Holies in the tabernacle and approach the Ark of the Covenant. He has to offer a sin offering and a burnt offering, but before he does this, he has to wash himself and put on the holy garments, which consist of a linen coat, linen pants, a linen girdle, and a linen mitre. After this, he can offer the bullock for his own sins, then take 2 kids of goats from the congregation and cast lots for them. The lot falls on one for the sin offering, and he must kill and offer, while the other is called the scapegoat. And he is to present it alive, and he lets it go out to Azazel in the wilderness. Azazel is the Hebrew word for scapegoat in the text, and this actually refers to the character, the angel, that all sin is ascribed to in the book of Enoch. This character could also be associated with Hasatan. After he kills the bullock, he is to apply the blood on the east side of the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant, sprinkling it 7 times. After this, he repeats the same process with the kid of goats. After this, he sprinkles the blood on the altar outside the Holy of Holies, and then gets the live goat. He puts his hand on the live goat and confesses all the sins of Israel, putting all those sins on the goat where the goat was to go into the wilderness to Azazel. After this, he is in like manner to offer up a burnt offering, and then he and the one who touched the scapegoat wash themselves and take the bodies of both the sin and burnt offerings outside the camp and burn them. Verse 29 specifically states that this is to occur on the 7th biblical month, on the 10th day of the month every year, and this is called the Day of Atonement, also in Hebrew called Yom HaKippurim or Yom Kippur. It also says that they must all afflict their souls and do no work. In verse 31, it says this holiday is to be forever. And that about wraps up chapter 16. Next time on Revealing Biblical Truths, we will talk in detail about the significance of blood and why Yah commanded us not to eat it. Thanks for watching. Till next time, Shalom.